just say something very short this morning, and I'll record it, just can always, doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to put it up. So, welcome to our forgiveness practice group. So, first of all, I just always want to remind everyone about what forgiveness is, because it's, as he says in the lessons, it's apt to be forgotten. They're his exact words. So forgiveness is for you. It's a practice. The forgiveness is the practice. So it's like crossing the bridge from fear to love. And it's a practice, and we have miracles, because they're the practice of forgiveness. So every day we dedicate our life to miracles, which is to give ourselves miracles of the shifts from fear to love. So it's about taking responsibility for our upset, even if we aren't ready to ask for another way to see it, for the Holy Spirit to correct our perception, even if we're not ready for that. The first part is just to know that I'm doing this to myself. That is why I'm upset. I'm doing this to myself. But that's okay. It's not like to beat yourself up. I'm doing this to myself, but just to know that I'm affected by my thoughts about this situation. It's my thoughts, and just to really identify the cause, which is, to gently identify the cause, not to say how bad I am for having these thoughts, because you can't help but have the thoughts. When we chose the ego, we chose its whole thought system, and so you can't beat yourself up for being in the ego, because you chose it on some level of mind that you've forgotten about. So all we need to do is know that, that's why I'm upset, very kindly and very gently to ourselves, that I chose my thoughts about this, and I'm doing this to myself. He says that's the key to salvation, which is in a nice way. Not that all these teachings about that I'm responsible for everything that happens to me, that I'm doing this to myself. They all are to be helpful. All those teachings Jesus is telling us, they're all for us to help us. They're not for the ego to use against us and say, well, look how I've ruined my life for the last 20 years by, joining these thoughts of hate and sin and darkness, and all it's for is for us to be saved from them at last, to wake up at last, to look back and say, well, look what I've been doing for the last 20, 30, 40 years. I've been joining these thoughts of that I'm sinful, that I've done something wrong, that I caused this, or I did this. Just to remind ourselves at any time we come across any of these teachings in the Course about that I am doing this to myself, that is a very, very helpful teaching, because if I think that someone's doing it to me, I'm forever stuck in this world. I'm forever stuck trying to get others to change, trying to get situations to change, trying with it's sort of like helplessly going up to the movie screen, crying, pouring at the movie screen, touching the images, saying, please change your way. And that's why the teaching seek not to change the world, seek not to change the movie screen, but change your mind about it. How I change my mind about the movie screen is it's a movie screen. I see that the images, whatever the images do and whatever they say, can't affect me. It's impossible. I have to see that it's a movie screen. I have to see that it's a dream, that they're images, that I'm an image, but that the truth is that my true home is my experience as being the love of God. That's my true home, is the experience of love. I am love, and that's my true home. And then I use this image of the body to repurpose, just to extend that love. It's not complicated. It shouldn't be fearful, and it shouldn't be a lot of work. It's just to repurpose the body from trying to get things in the world, to get the world to change, or to get something from the images. I literally just change it around to giving. I now am the giver of love, the giver of time, the giver of whatever. That's it. I'm just here to give. My purpose is to be sort of selfless service, you could say. And I'm just repurpose the body. You know, it's like, you know, in this world we recycle things, we give things a new purpose. So we just change the purpose of the body, and it's very easy. It doesn't need to be this really big thing in awakening. It's just to say, you know, I was once lost and now I'm found, that sort of thing. And not to beat yourself up for anything you've done in the past or thought, and how you, because we're all caught in the ego's mind. And so we just ask our helper, okay, helper, just, you know, I'm upset about this. And so we just say, I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm upset because I believe I've separated from the love that I am. So God is the love that I am. I was created as love. So I've forgotten that I was created by love as love. And so I simply then just reorientate my mind towards overcoming the fear of being that love. So I've got a thought system that tells me that there's some big sacrifice if I just become the full love, like Jesus was when he was here in the dream. He was just the emanation of beautiful, holy love. So the ego tells you, if you turn to this beautiful love and become like it, that something terrible is going to happen to you, that, you know, you won't be able to speak or work or function in the world. And I can tell you, you will. You will. Just reorientate. Your whole life will just change to being love. That's it. You'll lose the attraction to needing to get anything from the world, and you just simply need to keep turning back to your guide. Keep turning back to the teachings of the Course about yourself, who created you and what you are. And you don't need to, you need to entertain or really come to see the metaphysical teachings of the Course. But once you understand them, you leave them behind. The teachings of the Course are the raft that gets you across the river. And then you are the embodiment of that love. And then you simply love. And that pure love is very healing for other minds. It's very healing to be loved completely. There's not many minds here in the world at the moment that can just really love. And that's why we give miracles, when we simply just love each other completely. We don't demand our brother changes. We just love like the Christ loves. It's called Christ love. So it's a type of love that loves without conditions. And so really, that's really what we're going to be. So it's really important to just continually remember, because the ego makes up this big story that it's hard and it's complicated and that all is going to be chaos. But it's just to constantly just give you that reminder, a gentle reminder, that my function is to practice forgiveness only when I'm upset. If I'm feeling happy and I'm feeling good, just feel good, feel happy. Just go about your business, extending your love. Simply live your life. We're meant to change our minds about the world, to see that there's nothing to get here. There's nothing to change. It's in the awakened mind, it just sees that everything's perfect, because it sees that it's perfectly going along for its lessons. We have to have our lessons. Everything is a lesson. So it's like nothing's ever going wrong, because everyone's just getting their lessons and waking up from the dream. Because if when you're in the dream, you come across, because the ego is seek and do not find, you come across that you can never find it. So you're seeking and not finding your whole life. And imagine just going along your whole life seeking and not finding. You eventually come to a stage where you just give up. And that's what Jesus says. We're all going to just come to that stage in our mind. Oh, this doesn't work. And then we're going to awaken. So it's already happened, it's already done, but we seem to be choosing it in time. But time's not what we think. We have to really understand that time is not what we think it is. We have to even come to a new understanding about time. So in our little group here, we practice forgiveness, which is taking responsibility, complete responsibility. If there is a tiny, tiny part of my mind that is still trying to get someone or something to change, I'm still caught up in this idea that if it changes, I'll be happy. And it never does. It never makes me happy, because the ego finds something else to be upset about. The ego can never be satisfied, you could say. It's always going to find something wrong. It's not your thought system. It's a thought system we're listening to. And the only way for it to be undone is to stop listening to it and turn to the truth. Turn to the loving reminders all day long that tell us who we are and what we are, and that we don't need anything. We don't need anything from anyone here. Our job is to give the miracles, give the unconditional natural love that we are. So that is just today's reminder for the group. And for me, I'm always reminding myself it's beautiful. So I'll just pause the recording now and we can go on with our sharing. So just to be clear, I might just record this again, just resume recording. So we were just talking about the Pollyanna, the stuff. I mean, we shared a lot of things. I'll just touch on a couple of little things from the sharing. So naturally when we meet someone, even when we're feeling crap, which is usually the ego's thought system, makes you feel crap because it tells you you're sinful and guilty. So that's the program that the ego runs. It's like a virus program that's in our minds all the time. So we do tend to put on the face of innocence, like, oh, I don't want to bring them down with my rubbish, So we put on the Pollyanna stuff. So that is the face of innocence that the ego puts on. And that is the false self. There can be, when we do meet up with others and there is a truth, like in this group or other times, you can just feel that freedom and aliveness of meeting a friend. And that is true joining. That's just that's not a fake thing. That is just a true you immediately just join in the happiness of seeing a friend, and it feels very good and joyful, and that is true joining. You only go down into the ego when you start judging or comparing yourself with that friend. But there can be a period where you just join in the happiness and you just, oh, it's so good to see you. I'm so lovely. You're always meeting yourself, your true self, which you're lovely. It's lovely to meet your true self, which is free and happy. So there are no others. There's just, like Annalise said, there's just mirrors. There's images that just bring that to life. So it's really good to clarify, because sometimes if we don't clarify this, we can think, oh, I'm meeting my friend and I feel joyful, but that's got to be false. It's got to be the false ego innocence. It doesn't. You can feel the difference. You really need to become more and more aware of the different feelings that you get from this joining, because if you're coming to a friend saying, I feel really crap, so I'm going to paste on I'm just going to paste over this experience and try to be happy, then that's trying to put the face of innocence on. And like Robin was saying, sometimes you're better off not to share too deeply with someone that can't hold the space for you, that knows that it's not true what you're sharing, because otherwise you just start to see that the more you continue to share with someone that believes it's real, they try to actually give you solutions, because you're believing it's real, and then they believe it's real, and then they try to put a solution on a problem that's not real. So you never get to see that it's not real. When coming to these groups, it is a way to see it's not real, which is, hey, here I am. I'm taking responsibility for my upset. The only way out is to have another view of this. It's not to try to change the person or the situation in some way, because that's just going up to the screen constantly saying, and asking someone else, hey, how can I get this image to change? And you're asking somebody that's like thinks the image needs to change. And so they're going to just join you. You're going to be stuck. So that's why, Ken Wapnick used to say, ask Jesus. Sit in the movie theatre with Jesus and say, hey, what do you, this image is doing this, and this is the whole projection I'm putting over it. So the image might be a big face on the screen looking at you saying, I don't want to go out with you anymore. So you can imagine a big face on a screen, or something, and just hear it and just say, it's an image on a screen you're at the movies, and it's actually looking at you saying, oh, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't like you, or rah rah rah, whatever. Then you turn to Jesus and you say, what do you think about what this movie I'm seeing? What do you think about this? And he might just say, just remember it's an image. Remember, images and voices that come from images don't mean anything. You've given all the meaning it has for you. You believe, in your mind, you believe that you left God, you left love, and you're searching for it. You're like a child lost in a forest, lost in a dark room, searching for love, and you're searching for it in all the wrong places. So come back to God, come back to the love that you are. Stop searching for it where it can't be found on a movie screen, from this image on the screen. Stop searching for it there, and come back to me. Come back to the love. Come back to the infinite love that loves you, that lifts you up and just swoons you with this beautiful love. So come within, go back to your true self and join in that. And I'd like to I want to talk a little bit more about that joining with the love, but first of all, I'd like to share a little bit, touch on something Annie said, which was really important. She was saying, Holy Spirit, help me understand this particular idea or particular concept or something from the Course. Expand on it. She had a line from the Course that she shared, and she said, I'd just like to understand this. a little bit more. I want to get a deeper understanding of it. And that was one of the key things that I did on my journey. I did do the forgiveness with people, but I also would come across things in the course, a little bit like Heaven was saying, responsibility for sight. And sit quietly and ask, how am I responsible for my perception? It's not responsible for sight as in what my eyes see, because my eyes are just seeing images, but how am I responsible? If I'm going to really understand what I'm responsible for, just show me. So you ask for a deeper clarification, Holy Spirit, show me what is this responsibility for sight? How am I responsible for what happens to me? Help me understand this in the way you're understanding it, because the ego is going to come in and give me its version. I want to get deeper clarification. And so each segment, even there's great teachings on time. I would say to the Holy Spirit, okay, now I want to understand the teachings on time. I want to understand, what it means and how this world could never be. Show me the aspect of the dream. So you can ask the Holy Spirit to really give you ways of understanding these teachings, because we don't understand them, we're not there. And what generally would happen, sometimes I would get a aha moment, but generally the understanding would come in as an experience, not because the ego is a thought system that's based in time, and it's based on, the sun rotating round a world. It's based on the body and the bodies and everything changing in a world. So it's based on sort of like these images we see, and it seems like everything's aging. So we get the concept of time passing, but in reality there's no time and nothing ever happened, and there's only ever now. But you can come to an experience that you're always in the now, and that the past is really seeing, like you can really get a deep introspection or realization about time and timelessness. And it'll come in a way that's really helpful for you. It really helps you understand the metaphysics of the Course, which we have to get to really be free. We have to contemplate these. We have to really ask for it at a time. I just did everything slowly. I just worked one aspect of the teaching, and then once I could, I had a little bit. Sometimes I'd go back to certain things after a while. But this is how the Holy Spirit wants us to come. Jesus says he wants us to come to him and the Holy Spirit with the I don't know mind. I don't know about time. I feel like I'm living in a world that time's moving. I'm seeing everyone age. I'm seeing babies born and, bodies getting bigger and growing. So I'm at the effect of the belief in time. So help me understand how there can be timelessness. I'm not experiencing that. So this is how we want to come to the Holy Spirit. We want to come with real honesty. I'm not understanding this. I don't get it. I'm not experiencing it. So can you help me? So this is another important part of forgiveness, is to look at teachings in the Course. And he does say with the lessons that as we repeat them over and over, we will get the experience, and that is true. So that's an important thing. I'd just like to finish up this talk on one thing that was coming in very strongly yesterday to my mind. But before I do that, Kevin did ask me to share a little bit about what's happening for me at the moment. And as you know, very content living in a mind that is very free. I would say 95, 98% of the time it's quiet. It just doesn't have any thoughts about anything. It listens. It feels like the Holy Spirit just guides me. My practice is when I wake up, which is what I'm just going to talk to you about in a minute. It's joining with God first thing in the morning and at night. So that's practices, and sometimes I actively do it during the day as well. But that's always been my practice. First thing in the morning and last thing at night. I generally do the rules for decision practice, which is just Holy Spirit, you be in charge of the day. And I am reminded to check my to-do list, and then I just say, okay, you're in charge of what I do today, who I speak to, what I say. You know, I surrender completely my day, and I just let everything go, but I do make to-do lists and reminders because I literally cannot keep anything, remember anything. And I have heard this about awakened minds they just can't remember anything, and it was really helpful for me to know that is an aspect that most awakened minds have. Massive to-do lists and stickers up everywhere, you just can't remember anything. So I keep a lot of to-do lists, and I have reminders on my phones. And so what happens is I just check in. I scan my to-do list, and I just get told. I get just do this now, leave that, forget that, Dory, just do this, and then I just have the next thing to do. Go have a shower, or go put the rubbish bin out, or whatever. Just constant. It's a daily thing. It's just all the things I do during the day. I get told what to do. Other times I got to do something. No, don't do that. Do this. It's literally like a little GPS that just. And I see how it's worked out. I know that I've got to do this before I do that. Why do I have to do that before I go for my walk? Because if I do that before I go for my walk, I've actually walked past my neighbour's home as they're arriving home in their car. So therefore, I'm exactly in the right place at the right time to have a little conversation with my neighbour. So I see how everything works. I see that it's all in divine timing. You're in like a divine stream, you could say. It works very effortlessly and easily. I'm not attached. It's not even to say I'm unattached to outcomes. It's naturally, there's no attachments. I don't even think about outcomes. I'm not concerned about outcomes. They never come into my mind about outcomes. But I do talk about because I get guided, talk about don't be attached to outcomes. But that was part of my undoing, to be unattached to outcomes, because it's not up to us. We can't see the outcomes. We can't know what's best for ourselves or anyone. We just can't know that. So literally, my day, if I do watch some things on Netflix or whatever, I do go for walks. I eat what I'm guided to eat. Watching Netflix is not good or bad. It's sometimes you might be watching something and get guided, tell such and such to watch this. So I message someone and I say, hey, this is really good. So, just nothing is good or bad in this world. It's all the same. There's no hierarchy of illusions. That you're going to be doing something, but somehow everything gets reorientated for healing. So I've just been so this morning I was asked by Jared to go on to do a talk to the Living A Course in Miracles group. So in a couple of weeks' time, I think May the 9th, I'll be talking for an hour to his group. I've also been asked by the UK magazine Miracle Worker magazine to write another article. I wrote an article a while ago for that. This one's theme is something about hearing the voice for God. That lesson, hearing the voice for God all day. So I've just talked a little bit about that. So I'm just going to share. I like to share a little bit about my experience, but I also like to give some really good pointers for students to help them get to that stage. So I'm going to be talking about that now. My day is good, happy, peaceful. Seem to be pretty much. If something comes up, it's dealt with very quickly. It goes. Like I talked a few weeks ago about a thought of impatience with someone. It goes very quickly. Very quickly. It's not around because what happens when your mind is very peaceful, the slightest thought that is unpeaceful feels like a huge big rock's been thrown in a tranquil pond. So if you've got a huge storming sea and you throw a big rock in there, it doesn't. So, when your mind's really turbulent with the ego and another turbulent ego thought comes in, it's all part of the turbulence. But when your mind's really tranquil and even a tiny little pebble, a tiny ego thought comes in there, it disturbs the peace. So I'm very aware once the peace is disturbed, because I don't want my peace disturbed. That's why, when I shared about how I practice forgiveness, I don't want this anymore, because I don't want anything to disturb my peace. I could care less about anything in this world except my peace of mind. That's it, because peace of mind is everything to me. My thing is, I want to live in a peaceful mind. I don't want to be right about anything. In fact, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy for everyone to think I'm wrong and not like me and hate me, whatever. I literally do not care about how anyone sees me. I don't care about what anyone's view of me is, or whether I'm liked or disliked, or I don't care at all. I only care about being peaceful through joining Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and God, the love I am. I've got no interest in, if someone sees me or thinks I'm like this, that's fine, because that's it, that they're affected by their mind. They're affected by the thoughts in their mind about me. I'm affected by my thoughts about them. So I make sure if I have a thought of judgment about anyone, I change it very quickly, change it back to love. I'm extremely vigilant, because when I only have loving thoughts, I get to experience the love that I am through my loving thoughts. I have to keep that my mind very clean. So I'm vigilant for that. So that's it. That's all I do. So if something comes in, if I get a thought of impatience about someone, I feel that so damn. It's like someone's really, it's really takes away that peace. I don't want it. I notice it straight away. So I have to have had a thought, or believed a thought, I should say. So I just hunt it out. Okay, what is it? And I sit quietly. I usually just go and sit down for a few minutes. What's coming up? Oh, there's a thought that somebody should be further along. I've spoken with them for a few days. They should be getting something by now. Okay, I release that. Let that go. I just extend love. I have no demands on my brother. And it's done. Forgiveness is done. I've shifted the thought. And so that's it. And it happens quickly now. It used to take a long time, but I'm vigilant for it. So yes, I still get them. Most of the time, it's like the pink bubble. They ricochet off. Some people call them Velcro thoughts. But sometimes they come in and they can get joined. And so I've got to be vigilant for it. And then I'm back to peace. Because the thing is that I can't help anyone if I'm unpeaceful. If I'm caught up in a belief or a thought or something, I can't be helpful. because I'll think I'm right. And what happens, I know that those thoughts actually activate a Kate. It activates a separate self. It's like you putting something in to activate a self-concept again. So I know that immediately that thought comes in, I identify as a body. I identify as a body again, and I don't want to. I just don't want to identify. So there's part of my mind that just says no. So it's massive vigilance for it, only when it needs to be. So I might go, weeks, months without having an ego thought. Or, I don't know, it's sort of like time sort of seems to be, I can't really say how long, but it is long periods of time. Your mind is completely quiet. It doesn't have it has practical thoughts, or it has the thoughts. It knows how to do things. So it has thoughts of knowing how to wash a dish or wipe a bench down or turn your computer on. But it's free of all the, what I would call self-referencing thoughts. It doesn't, so the ego's thoughts are, she's further along than you, she's better than you, she's richer than you, she's more together than you, you're this, you're that, she's this, she's that, he's like this, you're like that. That whole, that's the ego. And what happened was those thoughts stopped. It was literally like a big radio got just turned off. Those thoughts just completely stopped one day. It just stopped. It was quiet. It was so crystal clear quiet. It was stark. The contrast was amazing. Because when you're living with the ego, it's the commentator on your life. It's like a little voice on your shoulder commentating about everything. And it looks at you, tells you about yourself. Oh, you're failing. Look, you didn't do this. You're watching too much Netflix. And then, oh, look at them. So it's sort of like you're listening to this voice all day long. And it's tiring. You're like, oh, fuck, I've got to go to sleep and get away from this voice. It's just tiring, the judgments that we listen to. So we have to become aware of that voice. That's the ego. And as Jesus says, the ego is not a big thing. It's just a thought. You don't have to listen to it. So, I remember I had a friend staying with me and she said, oh, that old chestnut. And that was lovely, And the mirror once said to me, I just say to the ego, oh, thanks for sharing, it's boring. It's really boring listening to the ego. It's boring. It's just got nothing new to say except judge. Judging me, judging everyone else. It's boring. This is totally boring. So let's start listening to the one that judges us as kind and loving and open and soft and beautiful. And let's just listen to that voice. Let's listen to what Jesus and the Holy Spirit have to say about us and everyone else. And so in my experience, I still get ego thoughts here and there. Sometimes, as I say, they bounce off. I just see it. It's like seeing, whoop, there it goes. And other times it comes in, it lands, and I have to sit down. Now, what is it? What was the thought? What? Okay, that's it. Oh, Holy Spirit, you have it. I don't want that. I want peace. So the peace of God you have to have peace. So, yeah, I just said I'm wrong about everything. I'm wrong about every single thing I think, because that's the ego. The ego's wrong. I have to be wrong, because truth is just love and wisdom. So you can come, I wasn't always this joyful and happy about it. So you come in the last few years. But, if you had met me when I was doing my forgiveness like you guys are, it was up and down. I'd be happy, and then I'd go whoop right back down. I'd be crying. I'd be like, oh, I'm failing at this course. I'm not getting it, and look how everyone else is doing so well, and I'd be fearful, and I'd be full of lack, and so it's just the same. Everyone that's gone through this training, this Course in Miracles, is all the same. you'll see them at all different levels. You know, it's just the ones that get through it a little bit quicker, a little bit. So, Nikki, I just thought I'd let you know I'm just recording the last little bit of my talk. So I'd just like to let you know I'm recording this, and it's just the last little bit of my share. I'd just like to now move on to the last part, is the joining with God in the morning and at night. I want to really bring that to the group as a, you know, it's important practice. Now, the practice, the Course in Miracles is about joining with your guide. So it's really important to set that up in the morning, joining with God and asking the Holy Spirit to be in charge of your day. So they're things that really, really important to do first thing in the morning. And when you first wake up, because your mind's really been free and it's really just been resting and it has had no egoic thoughts during the night, as you wake up, just first thing, just really remain in that peace. Just really remain as long as you can in that love and that peaceful mind, and just move straight into joining with God. So you're joining with this infinite love, and just come to that and just join with it in the best way you can. Just, there's no right or wrong way. Just say, God, I love you and I want to join with you. Join with that, and then okay, God, your spirit, part of you that knows that I'm asleep, it will be with me during the day to wake me up from this dream, out of this dream. So you can then just say, be with me today. Be in charge of all my responses, and I'll turn to you whenever I get upset and ask for your guidance and another way of seeing the situation. So you make your commitment in the morning that you're vigilant. You're going to be vigilant for anything that comes up, but also know that you don't know how it's going to get undone. You've got no idea what's going to come in, because initially, when you really, you know, start the course and you're going through, it might just be to apply the daily lesson to all the upsets, or it could be that you sort of get this sort of feeling, which is guidance. I'm really feeling like I need to meditate for a while. I need to quieten my mind, or I really feel like I need to go for a walk. I just feel like I need to walk for half an hour. That's all guidance. Everything that you feel, it just comes in. Oh, okay, I feel to do this now. It feels flowy and right. You're not forcing anything. And that's your day. That's your day. And you might get guided. Oh, I feel like I actually I just want to call my mum and check in how she is. That's guidance. Or I'm just feeling, you know, maybe to drop in and see my dad. And it may not be, you know, if you go see your dad or your mum or something like that, or you call them, it may not be some amazing thing that you're calling them about. It could just be checking in and saying, hi, how are you? You just have a normal conversation, you go. It is just because you're guided to something doesn't mean that they're going to be saying, oh, thank God you called, I've just fallen over, or something like that. It's not about that. It's just something, you don't know what it is. You just have to stay out of everything. I don't know why I called. It just could be that that it was just helpful. There's not these big things behind everything. Oh, I got guided to call them and I rang, and oh yes, I was on the floor and I didn't know who to ring, and you suddenly rang. Sometimes that might happen, but generally it'll be very normal things that you do in your life. You're just guided to a job, or call someone, or do something. Like Annie's just had some guidance around doing another group today. It all works together for good. So I'm just going to turn off the recording now, and then we'll do our 10 minutes of silence. Thanks everyone. Love you. Bye.